Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia Marin, your host for this afternoon. First of all, we want to apologize for the delay of this 15 minutes. We had some technical problems that we were experiencing, but everything is running smoothly now. So I warmly welcome you to today's webinar with the name Sustainable Nutritional Tools for the Prevention of Diseases in Shrimp and Fish Essential Oils. We thank you all those who joined us today on behalf of Aquaculture Magazine and the Aquaculture Asia Pacific team. As the leading actor and sponsor of this talk, we have the participation of the company Igusol, with headquarters in Spain, subsidiaries in 6 countries, and distributing to more than 35 countries. Igusol was born more than 30 years ago to provide innovative animal nutrition and health alternatives, developing natural, creative, and technological solutions that ensure safety and profitability animal production. The Igusol team is continuously working on projects to achieve new solutions and improve and optimize the current ones, carrying out this work in its laboratories in collaboration with universities and international research centers. Igusol works side by side with its customers with the commitment to design strategies of use that optimize their production values and solve their specific problems with natural methods. And today, to open the event, I would like to first thank Salvador Mesa and introduce him. He's a director and general editor of Aquaculture Magazine and Panorama Aquicola Magazine, who's joining us this afternoon as moderator for this session's question and answer section. Thank you and welcome, Salvador.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for following us. We have a technical delay right now, but we are ready to have a very good presentation for a very interesting topic right now. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Salvador. And we ask you to write all of your questions and doubts in the button showing the letters Q&A, which appears at the bottom of your screens. And so, to start the conference, I am pleased to introduce the panelists who will be joining us today. First, let's welcome engineer Juan Miguel Ruiz. He is a specialist in nutritional additives and animal feed. He is responsible for the technical department of Igusol, where he works in developing new products for efficient and sustainable animal production and provides technical support to the different departments of the company. Juan Miguel has a master's degree in agriculture engineering from the Polytechnic University of Madrid, specializing in animal production. During his professional career, he has dedicated half of his time to the livestock facilities sector and the other half to animal feed, particularly in additives for preventing diseases or improving production yields. He is still involved in this field today. Welcome, Juan Miguel.
Thank you very much, Claudia. It's a pleasure to be today here with you.
Thank you. Joining Juan Miguel on the panel, we had with a doctorate in veterinary medicine and a master of business administration. I'm happy to also introduce Terence Tan. Terence has developed his professional career in different international animal health companies. Currently, he is the Asia Regional Manager at Igusol, managing countries such as Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan, China, and so on. Welcome, Terence.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Terence Tan. Currently, I'm based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So I'm the regional manager for Igusol for Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Terence. And accompanying us on the panel is Dr. Nacho Josa Prado, Igusol International Manager. He graduated in veterinary medicine from the Complutense University of Madrid, has a master's in sales management from the EAE Business School, and a second master's in companies internationalization strategy by the ICEX. Welcome, Nacho.
Hello to everyone. Good afternoon. Nice to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Nacho. And finally, and to begin this afternoon's program, I am pleased to introduce Julio Camperio. Julio is currently a PhD student at the University of Miami Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, focusing on marine finfish nutrition under the tutelage of Dr. Jorge Suarez and Dr. Benetti. Some of his past experiences are seaweed production in Hawaii for human consumption. Most recently, he executed nutrition research on Palawan rabbitfish to formulate and test the performance of diets where novel plant-based ingredients had entirely replaced fish meal. Other works encompass assessing and evaluating insect meal and oil and marine algae biomass to formulate marine aquafeeds. Welcome, Julio. It's great to have you here. Can we start the presentation now?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Claudia, and thank you everyone for attending. I believe my screen is currently sharing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us, wherever you find yourself in the world. My name is Julio Camperio, as Claudia introduced me. And the topic of today's presentation is sustainable nutrition tools for the prevention of diseases in shrimp and fish, with a main focus on essential oils. Igusol kindly asked me to present some of the recent key findings in peer-reviewed journals that focus on essential oils as a sustainable tool in preventing diseases in shrimp and fish. This presentation will mainly be divided in 4 sections. The first one, I'll give a very brief overview on what essential oils are. Then a brief overview on organic acids, followed by a third part where we dive more into the publications on essential oils used in aquaculture. And then finally, we'll look at the synergy between organic acids and essential oils and how they work together in preventing diseases. Oh, here we go. So to introduce a little bit of essential oils, aquaculture and other livestock industries like poultry, swine, and cattle in the past used a lot of antibiotics to promote health and improve production. But this inevitably produced some sort of levels of resistance from diseases against these antibiotics. In fact, some of those antibiotics were known as growth-promoting antibiotics, which promote health and increase in production. So as this resistance started increasing, they started noticing that the antibiotics had less and less effect. And so the industry started looking into alternatives to these growth-promoting antibiotics. Some of those alternatives turned out to be essential oils and organic acids. And as these industries started looking more into these feed additives, they realized that these essential oils mainly were able to improve yield and improve the health of the animals without the uses of antibiotics. So now we'll go quickly a little bit into organic acids. Acidifiers have large impact on yield through 3 main pathways: a balanced nutrition, the gastrointestinal tract, and effects on metabolism. In terms of balanced nutrition, for people in the audience that live and work in humid and hot environments and work with pelletized feeds, are aware that hot and humid environments tend to allow bacteria, fungus, and yeast to grow on the feeds depending on the quality of the feeds and how the feeds are being stored on site. So in fact, when using acidifiers, they can function as conservation agents. They can reduce the pH of the feed. They can inhibit bacterial growth, and they reduce the absorption of possible pathogens and their toxic metabolites. In the bottom here, this is one of the first publications published in 2004, Maliki et al., that looked at using formic and propionic acid at 1% dose, which can work against E. coli. Obviously, this is an old paper, and since then, more acids have been looked into at different doses, but I wanted to present this here because it was indeed one of the first publications that looked into this main topic. In this publication, titled "The Utilization and Mode of Action of Organic Acids in Feeds of Cultured Aquatic Animals," A very interesting paper. They do a very good job of general review on the topic. They first present this graph that shows the increase in number of publications per year on organic acids. And as we can see in 2007, that number of publications started to increase, which kind of reflects what the industry was looking for. The industry had a problem. They looked into research and development, and then a number of publications started coming out. They present this first table with a variety of organic acids that were used in feeds. What I want to bring up here is that each organic acid was given this parameter CR, which stands for corrosiveness rate. This is something that needs to be kept in mind when formulating feeds, because some of these acids may have a higher corrosiveness rate than other acids. For example, if you look at formic acid, it's given 3 stars, while, for example, malic acid has 1 star. Now, when we're formulating feeds, we use large and expensive machineries that might tend to corrode when using these acids. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, from this point, researchers start looking into different forms of organic acids that might reduce their corrosiveness rate. And here we come onto the topic of the salts of organic acid. This was a paper published in 2013 in Aquaculture titled Salts of Organic Acid Selection by Multiple Characteristics for Marine Shrimp Nutrition. The main objective of this publication was to identify salts of organic acids to be used as a feed additives in Baname. They looked at 6 main organic acids: sodium acetate, butyrate, citrate, formate, lactate, and propionate. This table, we came up with this table, but it's always a summary of their findings, just to kind of give you a quick snapshot of the publication. There are various, these are the 5 parameters that they looked at. We have the inhibitory activity against Vibrio pathogens, and they were able to find that sodium acetate, sodium butyrate, and sodium propionate were effective in this topic, or in this theme here. Reduced leaching was seen with sodium butyrate, sodium citrate, and sodium lactic. Improved attractability and consumption was seen with sodium butyrate and sodium propionate. And reduced Vibrion concentration in intestinal microbiota and increased apparent digestibility of energy and phosphorus were both seen prevalent with sodium propionate. So the overall conclusions is that organic salts can improve the nutrition and health of marine shrimp. And more specifically, when looking at those 6 organic acids, sodium propionate had the best potential as dietary supplement for Baname. So now we'll go more into the main topic of today's webinar, which is essential oils. Essential oils have some benefits on health and on health of the animals. Some of those benefits are enhancing intestinal barrier and reducing digestive disorders. They can stimulate immune system through phagocytosis activity and prophenyl oxidase. They increase protection to intestinal microvilli. They increase the activity of lactobacillus, and they establish beneficial intestinal bacteria. This is a graph that we put together, similar to what we saw earlier, but this focuses mainly on the use of essential oils in aquaculture. And again, as we can see, from 2009 to 2016, that number was somewhat constant. And since 2017, we started to see an increase in publications per year in peer-reviewed journal. Again, this somewhat indicates that the aquaculture industry is faced with a problem, which is the resistance of antibiotics. And so they're looking for alternatives. And so they turn to academia and research institutes to look into essential oils to be used as feed additives. This is a very interesting paper titled Herbal Plants and Their Derivatives as Growth and Health Promoters in Animal Nutrition. They look at a variety of herbal plants, and they're able to identify flavoring properties and biological activities. Some of those flavoring properties are labeled here in the left box. They can be appetizing effects, sensory properties, palatability effects, and flavor enhancing qualities. While the biological activities that are here on the right, we have antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-stress, enhancing enzymatic digestibility, and immunostimulatory effects. Now, both of these flavoring properties and biological activities put together have been found to promote growth and health in animals. This doesn't only apply to fish and shrimp, but it can also be applied to other livestock. In the same publication, they present an interesting table where they identified certain herbal plants, but they're able to look into the biologically active compounds of all of these different herbal plants. They look into three main categories: antioxidant active compounds, antiviral active compounds, and bactericide. For example, if we look at licorice down here, we can see that licorice has 10 biologically active compounds in terms of antioxidants. If we look at, for example, coriander, we can see coriander has 12 biologically active compounds for antiviral. And at the same time, coriander and licorice have 20 active compounds for bactericide. So it's not only important to identify which plants can be used depending on their active compounds and their benefits, but it's also important to discover and look into what compounds all these plants have. So it's important to see also where these plants are produced, how are they produced, what part of the plant is being harvested and used to formulate these oils. So there's many different questions that we need to look into to be able to effectively include oils in feeds. This is another publication published in 2021 in Pathogens, titled Antiparasitic and Antibacterial Functionality of Essential Oils, an Alternative Approach for Sustainable Aquaculture. They do a really good job of doing a large summary of all of the various papers that have been done on this topic. And we present here a summarizing table on their results. And we have three of these tables. In this case, on the first column, we have the species of fish that was researched. In the second column, we have the essential oil that was used. In the third column, we have the effect of growth and feed utilization. In the fourth column, we have immunity. And in the fifth column, we have the protection against infectious diseases. Wherever you see a green cell, like here, it means that there was a positive effect on the parameter that was being investigated. If there's a yellow, for example, here, there was some positive and some negative effects. So in terms of growth and feed efficiency, and feed utilization, sorry, we can see that the majority of the times that it was investigated, the results were indeed beneficial. When looking at immunity, all of the publications had positive effects. Of course, here there was no significant change. And as I just mentioned, in this publication in 2020, there were both some positive and negative effects. And in terms of infectious diseases, the protection against infectious diseases, all of the publications had positive results using this oil with a specific species and the specific pathogen. Here's another table. Again, this is a summary of the review that they carried out. In the first column, we have the parasitic pathogen that was investigated. We have in the second column the essential oil that was used. In the third column, we have the elimination time of that pathogen using the oil. And in the fourth column, we have the percentage elimination. As you can see, at least with this section of this table, all of the publications had 100% elimination, which is a great way to eliminate these specific pathogens with the different species. The next table, very similar, but I wanted you to keep in mind that if we take, for example, these first two, or the third and fourth, the second and third publication, in 2017, they had about between 40 and 50% elimination of this pathogen with these oils, while the year prior, in 2016, they had 98%. obviously with a different oil, but is the same parasite or the same pathogen. So it's important to understand that the oils won't always work 100%, and there will be variability, but the majority of the results seem to be positive, at least in this case. And again, here in 2017, we have 50 to 100%. So there's always different factors to keep in mind. This is a recent publication entitled Carvacrol, Timon, and Garlic Essential Oil Promotes Skin Innate Immunity in sebum through the multifunctional modulation of the secretory pathway and enhancement of mucus and protective capacity. In this study, the group evaluated the beneficial protection of a mix of oils from Carvacrol, garlic, and Timon in terms of cutaneous transcriptome analysis and the improvement of the protection capacity of the mucus of sebum. This was done with marine fish. Now, what is interesting to notice, for example, in this graph, is that they collected samples of mucus from fish. Some fish were fed a controlled diet without the addition of the essential oils, and some fish were fed with essential oils. We can see this green line represents the growth of this pathogen on the mucus of fish that were fed with essential oils. So the green line is fish fed with essential oils, and the purple line is fish fed with the control, which was a diet without the essential oils. And the gray line is simply the growth of the pathogen without any addition. The graph on the right, we can see the decrease in growth percentage with the fish that were treated with the essential oil. And this was done with Vibrium anguillarum. Very similar idea for Pseudomonas anguilliseptica. Again, the green line represents fish that were fed with the essential oil, and we can indeed notice a decrease in the pathogen growth. And then they looked at E. coli. Very similar trend. The fish fed with the phytogenic did have a reduction in bacteria growth in the mucus. So we're starting to see that essential oils not only affect the intestinal tract of the fish from within, but essential oils are also have an effect on the mucus and on the outside layer of the fish, protecting them from ectoparasites. So the essential oils work both from within and from without of the organisms. This publication was published in 2020 in aquaculture from our colleagues in ESPOL in Ecuador. For some of you people in the audience that don't know, Ecuador is one of the biggest producers of shrimp. But at the moment, they are facing some serious issues with pathogens and diseases. More specifically, these 4 strains, Vibrium campelli, Hervei, Vulnificus, and Parahemolyticus. Their industry is really being hit hard by this pathogen, and this is a perfect example on how they're looking into using essential oils to improve health and production. They go really deep into looking into this topic. So we're not going to have enough time to cover every single topic, but those main topics are the minimum inhibitory concentration and minimum bactericide concentration of essential oils, effect of essential oils in bioluminescence of Hervei and Campelli, effect of essential oils in the formation of biofilm, the effect of swarming motility, the effect of essential oil toxicity in vitro and in vivo analysis, challenge test, and antiviral effect of essential oils. And at the end, they actually look into the effect of essential oils in the grow out of baname. So not only do they look at the resistance against pathogens, but they also look at how essential oils can potentially improve growth and yield. So as I mentioned, these were the 4 strains that they looked into. And they use a variety of essential oils, oregano, tea tree, lemongrass, and cinnamon. And they identified that oregano and tea tree had the optimum or higher levels of minimum inhibitory concentration and maximum bacteriocide concentration. In this graph, they're looking at bioluminescence, at least in the top graph, bioluminescence of Vibrio hervei, and in the bottom, bioluminescence of Campelli. And again, we have all the different essential oils, and on the column on the right, we have the control. And they noticed that with oregano, which contains carbacril, they started to notice a significant reduction in bioluminescence at 0.1 micrograms per liter. And with tea tree, they noticed a significant difference at 1 microgram per milliliter, specifically for Hervé. And then in Vibrio Campelli, similar trend. They see a dose of 0.1 with oregano for Campelli, and then for tea tree, a 0.25 is the ideal concentration to start to see a reduction in bioluminescence. Obviously, both of these are compared to the control. In these two graphs, they're looking at biofilm, and each of the columns is one of the different strains. So with oregano, again, which contains carbacril, they notice a significant difference when using 0.5 micrograms per liter when compared to the control. Now, what is interesting of these graphs is that they actually decided to use a treatment with an antibiotic. And so we can see that around 2.5 to 5 micrograms per liter, they have similar results to what they came out with the antibiotic. Obviously, significantly reduced from the control. In the bottom, we have tea tree, and we see a significant difference at 2.5 micrograms per liter. And again, when compared to the control, it's significantly lower. And then when comparing it with the antibiotic, we start to see a significant difference at 10 micrograms per liter. Here they looked at mortality, which is a very important topic. And they found that essential oils do indeed have a reduction in mortality when compared to the control. And this was 96 hours post the exposure of Vibrio Campelli. As you can see, at 1 milligram per liter and 2.5 milligrams per liter, they had a significant reduction in mortality when compared to the control. The next and final topic of this paper, of this publication, is they looked at production and yield. And they looked at oregano oil at 2 different concentrations and tea tree oil at 2 different concentrations when compared to the control. The first parameter is survival. And they noticed that both oils at both concentrations had an increase in survival. Oregano was around 92%, tea tree around 87 and 88, and the control was 72. They looked at production, kilograms per hectare, and they found again that the essential oils both increased production. Obviously, we can see from the subscript here that oregano had a higher effect on production. But what is interesting to notice is the differences in doses. It seems that using twice the dose of both oils doesn't have a statistically significant improvement on production. So as researchers and as the industry, we have to identify the different oils that we can use and identify the different benefits that these oils bring to health and growth. We also need to look into what the ideal and optimum concentrations of these oils are. Because if you're including the second dose, you're not really gaining that much more production. So you're spending twice as much. So you might as well identify that you can use 2.5 instead of 5, and you get similar results. So now we'll look into the synergy between essential oils and organic acids and how they work together to improve health and reduce the risk against pathogens. This is a diagram taken from this publication that we talked about earlier, the utilization and mode of action of organic acids in the feeds of cultured aquatic animals. This circle over here represents the stomach of the fish with a pH of 3.8. These molecules here are the organic acids. Now we have to keep in mind that with other animals, depending at what point in the gastrointestinal tract we're looking into, and at different species, there's going to be a different pH. And organic acids are somewhat weak acids, So they might be less effective in different points of the intestine depending on the environmental pH. So what happens is this shape inside here, inside the stomach, right here, is a bacterium. So the way organic acid works is that it enters through the membrane of the bacteria through diffusion, and it disassociates within the bacterium. A part of that disassociated organic acid will alter the DNA of the bacteria, preventing it from replicating. And part of that DNA, seeing that it will force a change in the pH within the cytoplasm of the bacteria, the pH will try to restabilize its pH by expending a lot of energy. And these two parts together will inevitably lead to the bacteria to die. Now, here's where we see where organic acids and essential oils work together. Essential oils, in essence, bind to the membrane of the bacteria and rupture it. Once the membrane is ruptured, it facilitates the organic acids to enter into the bacteria and carry out the DNA modification and the high expenditure of energy. Now, it's important to understand that it's the essential oils that rupture the membrane of the bacteria, thereby damaging the bacteria. So these two can work together in reducing diseases and helping to improve the health of fish and shrimp. So in conclusions, we always talk about sustainable aquaculture, and we need to start talking, when we talk about sustainable aquaculture, we need to talk about functional diets that actually help to improve health. And we're seeing that, some of those ways to improve health and improve production are indeed essential oils, as we learned today, both with shrimp and fish. Essential oils have indeed shown improvements in growth, immune response, antibacterial and antiparasitic activity. There are desirable and undesirable compounds in these essential oils that we have to identify. And this is an excerpt that was taken from one of the publications, that pharmaceutical companies play an important role in refining the desirable and undesirable compounds of essential oils to achieve better effect in fish and shrimp farming. This means that the industry and the various players in the industry have to work together to kind of identify these desirable and undesirable compounds. As I mentioned earlier, we need to look into the large variety and the numerous plants that are available to us. We have to identify where these plants come from, when they were harvested, how they were harvested, what part of the plant is being used to produce these oils, and the overall life cycle of these plants to fully understand the variety and the variability of these oils. As I mentioned in the shrimp publication, when they use two different concentration of oils, we need to figure out and identify the optimal doses of essential oils against bacteria and parasites. Each animal at different life stages and life cycles will have a different effect from these oils. So we have to identify those optimal levels. We have identified that there's a synergy between bioactive compounds. And as we mentioned in the last slide, essential oils work with organic acids in disrupting and damaging the bacteria from within the digestive system of the fish. We have to look into the encapsulation of essential oils. Essential oils are very thermal sensitive. And as we're aware, when we formulate feeds, the ingredients get put under high temperatures, and those oils can be damaged. So we have to find ways and systems to prevent that damage. And this is something Juanmi will get more into in the next presentation. And we have to look into the technology for the inclusion of essential oils in feeds. You can either use the oil as an ingredient and add it with all the other ingredients, mix it together to have the oil within the feed pellet, or you can coat the pellet from the external surface with the oil. These are all different topics that we have to look into, but we have seen, with all the publications that are out there, that indeed essential oils do indeed promote health and improve production with less use of antibiotics. So I hope you all find this this presentation interesting and that you learned a lot. And I'll pass on the virtual microphone to Juanmi. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Julio. Juanmi, it's very good presentation. Juanmi, are you ready
Yes.
to start? I'm just want to tell to the audience that please ask your questions in the icon of questions and answers that it is in the bottom of this screen. So it is easy for us to find the questions in the questions and answer icon than in the chat. In the chat, there's a lot of conversation, and it's not easy to find all these questions that you are making. Please make your questions in the icon, the questions and answer in the that it is in icon in the bottom part of this screen. Okay, Juanmi, please go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I will briefly talk about the need of essential oils that, as Julio already did, so I will go briefly, and then jump into to the technology to provide these essential oils to animals. So first of all, multi-drug resistance bacteria are well spread around the world. This is one map of many that may be shown as the spread of the issue of the problem, and there is no country in the world which is safe. And also we have the expectations by 2050, by the year 2050, of antimicrobial multi-drug resistance to be the first cause of death in the world for human beings, even higher than cancer. So this is a problem today that is expected to become worse and worse in the future. Here we have Alexander Fleming. He discovered penicillin. Penicillin was the first antimicrobial drug discovered. And already, shortly after the discovery of penicillin, Fleming was already warning that after low doses or sublethal doses of penicillin, bacteria were developing resistance. So he was already aware of that. And we can see that in nature, drug resistance appeared a few years later of the discovery of penicillin. And that has happened for any of the drug families. Any drug family was discovered at any point, and shortly after the discovery, the multi-drug resistance or the drug resistance was appeared by bacteria. And for some families that are very, very used, as for example macrolides, the appearance was almost immediately. We are just talking in 1 year period that the resistance appeared. Okay, how serious is that? So we have in humans, some example is Salmonella is a good example, because 1/4 of Salmonella strains are already not able to be treated by antibiotics as they were used to be. And it's 50% of the Salmonella strains are already resistant to 1 or 2 antimicrobial classes. 50%. So, and the problem is becoming worse and worse every year. And if we go to particular strains, we see the situation is really, really serious. For example, in the monophasic Typhimurium. As well, we find that in animals, in broilers, turkeys is also very serious. In swine, it's almost half of the strains are multi-drug resistant to more than 2 antimicrobial classes. So the impact is high. This is happening in livestock, poultry, because we have been using the drugs, antibiotics as preventing during many years, and this is something we want to avoid in fish and shrimp. We can see the same is happening for other bacteria, etc., etc. There is extent information references in this aspect. And well, this is another map showing the impact of the expected deaths due to multi-drug resistance by 2050. And this is especially impacting in Africa and Asia. So we need to take special precautions in the next years for those continents. And this is the reason why during the last years, more and more countries has been banning the use of antibiotics and restricting the use of antibiotics. This is happening in European Union since 2006, but every year more and more countries are joining, and for example in Thailand the restrictions are high, etc. Then there is, as we stop, or we need to stop using antibiotics as growth promoters, that at the end they were working also as a prevention of disease, we need to substitute them with something, right? And there are two main approaches here: the immunological approach to enhance the immune system of the animals, or the microbial approach to target directly the pathogens, or to enhance the commensal bacteria to occupy the space and to be the main bacteria in the gut and avoid the development of these pathogens, avoid the alterations in the quorum sensing, etc. Okay, here we are going to focus in essential oils. This is the purpose of today. And also essential oils has one big advantage. They are working in the immunological approach, but also in the antimicrobial or in the microbial approach. In the immunological approach, I have highlight here a couple of properties. One is the antioxidant activity of essential oils. Another one is the anti-inflammatory property of essential oils. Plus, although inflammation is not released, is not started, essential oils show also a higher activity in macrophages. And for example, Julio was mentioning there is a extra production of mucus. This is also a way to enhance the immunological system or the immunological protection of the shrimp or the fish, in that case. And there is extensive references about all this immunological approach. As Julio was showing, the number of research that has been done during the last year is massive, and is still work in progress. On the antimicrobial approach, we have, as already mentioned, two different aspects. One aspect is essential oil are killing or targeting pathogens, and another aspect is that essential oils are helping or assisting commensal bacteria to develop and to colonize the gut. Those are the main. As killing pathogens, how are essential oils working? When we look at that at the microscope, basically it looks like the bacteria is exploding. This is not the reality. Reality is essential oils are making holes in the membrane of the bacteria, and that's why we start to look for lack of continuity along the membrane. And because of those holes, the internal liquid of bacteria, cytoplasm, may be lost or start to be lost, and essential metabolites and molecules or bacteria start to be lost. On the other hand, those holes also allow the entrance of molecules or other molecules, metabolites, etc., toxins that are on the on the medium. Of course, the entrance of many things that the membrane is not controlling will also affect the development or the performance of bacteria, and that will lead to the death. For example, those holes will allow the entrance of organic acids, as Julio mentioned, or, for example, will allow the entrance of drugs or antibiotics that the bacteria was already resistant to. So this means, and there is some references published recently, that the combination of drugs, antibiotics, plus essential oils, there is has a synergism, and even in multi-drug resistant bacteria, that bacteria is again susceptible by those drugs in the presence of essential oils. Although the procedure of essential oils is to make those holes in the membrane, the way they make them varies between essential oils. And for example, I have brought here a couple of examples. Scarbacrol is translocating protein membranes, some protein membranes. So as we are translocating those proteins, we are altering the membrane and making it to lose stability and start to make this hole. I was saying holes in the membrane in those parts. Also, carbacrol is inhibiting the synthesis of flagellin. So bacteria that requires a flagella to move, or fimbria, they lose them. Also, fimbria or flagella are essential to cause infection. So even if the bacteria is not dead, still bacteria cannot infect the host because of the loss of these extremities. Other example is, in this case, thymol, and thymol is also making the holes, but it's translocating membrane fatty acids. So all of them, we can go to cinnamaldehyde, we can go to eugenol, etc., etc. All of them are affecting the membrane, but all of them make that in different ways. Each of them has different ways. We also see there is a direct activity on the genetic expression of the bacteria. And I brought here the example of carbacrol and thymol, because it's also proven that the combination of carbacrol and thymol is reducing the genetic expression of virulence genes in Salmonella. So that's another important factor. For cinnamic acid or cinnamaldehyde, there is also extensive references about how they avoid the growth of those pathogens, but also how they alter the genetic expression or the genetic material of the bacteria. So they are interesting, or they look very interesting to control pathogens, to enhance immune system, but how can we apply them to aquafeeds? Here we have some issues to solve. Because, and why are essential oils kind of something new or something that is really advanced technology nowadays, right? Because they are not new to humanity. It's more than 6,000 years ago that humanity or human beings are using essential oils, first indirectly by using aromatic plants for a specific use, respiratory, etc. They are included indirect or directly in traditional medicine, in Asian traditional medicine, in European, in American, African. So they were already being used, and since Arabian culture, the steel was developed, and then human beings start to use directly the essential oil and not only not the complete aromatic plant or specific parts of the plants, right? So it's long ago that we know the aromatic plants. It's long ago that we know the essential oils. However, the use of antibiotics and drugs did a stop on the usage, right? We started to use antibiotics very fast, and they were spread very, very fast around the world. They were developed during the 20th century. But now we have this issue of antimicrobial multi-drug resistance, and then we are coming back to the step where we were just before, right? So we are coming back, among other things, to essential oils. As mentioned, applications were really, really variable, from the digestive tract, respiratory, topical applications. Well, there are even legends about the use for other purposes in Cleopatra's legends, etc. But just focusing on our topic, we come back to those uses to humans, and then we are starting to transfer that to animals. And this is not new for swine or poultry. We are already doing that as an alternative to growth promoters in swine and poultry since 20, 30 years ago. So it's, well, not maybe 30, but we have already some experience in swine and poultry, a little bit in cattle. And since the application in animal productions, we are focusing on digestive pathologies in the prevention, mainly, also treating, but mainly prevention of digestive pathologies. Why? Because to reach the respiratory tract is not so evident, with compounds that not always are very well absorbed in the intestine. That for digestive pathologies is okay because they are where they need to act, but for respiratory, sometimes you need to reach the lung, etc. So there are some complications, right? Topical use, so it's not that they could not be used on that aspect, but in a functional way, to apply topically this in intensive animal production is that may be an option for pets or for small farms or as a veterinary science, but we are here focusing in nutrition, and through nutrition, where essential oils are really, really working is in digestive health. However, essential oils have a big, big problem, is that they are extremely fragile, they are extremely volatile. In fact, if they smell so good, it's because they are so volatile. We are losing molecules all the time at normal temperature, at room temperature. So you can imagine if we are losing molecules of essential oil at room temperature, what is going to have under pelletization or extrusion as we need to do in shrimp or fish feeds. There are other chemical reactions where essential oils are also very, very sensible to conversion, degradation, oxidation, etc., etc. So we need to protect them. We need to protect them. Otherwise, it's very difficult for them to reach the animal, and on the animal to reach the intestine, because there is a lot of factors affecting a reaction taking place since the moment the animal is eating the feed. Also in aquaculture, we have another challenge, and it's the scale. We have a lot of experience in poultry and swine. However, the smallest animal there is a chick of 40 grams. 40 grams is massive when we compare to a post larva in a shrimp, for example, or fingerlings in fish, right? So although we had this experience in swine and poultry, we needed to reduce the size of our particles, and now we are working from 100 to 500 micrometers. And this was really a challenge to reduce the size at that extent. Plus, because of the volatility and fragility of essential oils, we need to protect them. And we need to protect them and induce or provoke the release of them when they enter the intestine, when they enter duodenum, right? So what have we done? First, we have a core. It's a mineral core, which is resistant to temperatures, pressures, where essential oils are inside and embedded. Okay, and then externally to that mineral core, we have a lipid coating, which avoid the release of those essential oils before they reach the intestine. When the essential oils reach duodenum, then the lipases from duodenum will degrade that coating, and as this a fluid medium, the essential oils will be releasing from the mineral core to medium. Okay, so we were required to do those two protections, because originally we were working just with this coating, but of course extrusion, pelletization, they require an extra protection to get the product working where we want, that is the intestine of the animal, right? What else? For that, we need to do recovery trials to check that the product is found in the feed afterwards. And the one issue here is that the product, the dose is being used of essential oils in animals is so low that in the final compound feed, the detection method is complicated. So what we are doing is a first production with the dose is higher, then we can check after pelletization and extrusion the results, the presence and the recovery of essential oils, which is higher than 90% with those two protections. And as the dose there is extremely high, we can reuse that as an ingredient to the final feed compound feed, right? This is just a way to prove when someone wants to check the recovery of the product after pelletization or extrusion. Of course, it's not something to apply in a normal routine of a feed factory. Of course, in essential oils, there is a lot of research. We also work in that way. And actually, Igusol is considered an innovative company. We have the stamp from the Spanish government. And we work in 3 different lines or 3 different ways of working. First, we do in vitro trials just to prove the validity of specific essential oils or essential oils combinations against bacteria or pathogens. Then we do in vivo, and finally we do commercial trials. Why we do in vivo and commercial trials? Because, for example, with shrimp in vivo trials, we see sometimes a lot of cannibalism that in commercial it doesn't happen. So in vivo is more focused on the growth of the animals. Commercial trials is more on the economy of the farm. Because at the end in commercial trials is the conditions of the real conditions where the product is going to be used. Of course, in vivo, you can do a lot of different things. No? You can allocate shrimps in a small, how do you say, cages, etc. You have a lot of variability depending on what you want to see. but at the end of the day, you need to go to commercial trials to do the research on the final economy of the farm and how that improve the producer, the final producer. And that's it. I would like also to highlight something. Those are the conclusions. Essential oils are known from 1,000 years ago. And here is what I would like to highlight. They are known from thousands of years ago, but plants have developed essential oils since from millions of years ago. So if they are, if we can be sure they are not going to develop multi-drug resistance, at least when they are combined, several of them, is because the plants have already proven that. If we only use one specific molecule, a bacteria develop a resistance, and I think there is also already some studies in that line. But when we combine several essential oils, for the plants, it's very difficult to develop the resistance, and the proof is that plants are for millions of years developing them and surviving thanks to them against pathogens. And that's all from my side. I will be very happy to give the floor to my colleague Terence. He's going to show you one trial.
Thank you, Juan Miguel. It's a great presentation. I will invite to the audience to make your questions in the icon of question and answer that you can find at in the bottom of this screen. We will have at the end of these presentations a space to read the questions and to the speakers, and they will answer some questions, and that's we have what will be probably the most important part of the webinar. So Terence, are you ready? I think Terence, can you hear me, Terence? Are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, we will hear you very well.
So I'm just sharing my presentation, is it?
Go ahead.
I'm sharing my presentation, is it, Salvador?
No, not ready.
Yeah, the presentation is from your side.
Okay. So we already are seeing your
can
screen.
you see my screen?
Yes, it's already there.
It's already here.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a moment. Let me modify a bit my screen. Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Julio and Huang Mi, for the nice presentation. And this is, I think, final part for the presentation today. I'm going to share you effects of essential oils. Here we are using Emerald. Emerald is a product that's produced by Igusol. So we are using Emerald on growth, performance, and survival of white shrimp. Here, which is Lithopenes waname, after challenge with Vibrio parahemolyticus, that causing white physis syndrome. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look on this study. This study was conducted in collaboration of Igusol with Aquaculture Business Research Center, Faculty of Fisheries, Kasesa University, Bangkok, Thailand. Here, I would like to special thanks to Dr. Niti Chuchet for conducting the study. And special thanks to Nextech Feed Company Limited, Mr. Siwat and Mr. Jitapon to coordinate for this trial. And here there was 3 experiments conducted in the study. Experiment 1 is to determine the effect of essential oils on the growth and survival of white shrimp. Experiment 2 to determine the effects of essential oils on the immune response of white shrimp in laboratory conditions. And experiment 3, there's a challenge test with Vibrio parahemolyticus that causing white feces syndrome. Okay, let's take a look on the experiment 1. The objective is to determine the effect of essential oils on the growth and survival of white shrimp. And the method, we use a total of 3,000 Pacific white shrimp. Here is post-larvae 9. And it was divided into 6 groups with 3 replications per group. And here are the 6 groups. Control 1 with pelleted diet plus high fish meal. Treatment 2, we have pelleted diet plus high fish meal plus essential oil, 200 ppm. Treatment 3, pelleted diet plus high fish meal plus 300 ppm of essential oil. Control 2, we are using low fish meal with a pelleted diet. Treatment 5, we are using a pelleted diet plus low fish meal plus 200 ppm of essential oil. And last, treatment 6, pelleted diet plus low fish meal plus 300 ppm of essential oil. And after experiment 1, the following immune parameter were studied, which is phenolocidase, bacterial activity, phagocytosis activity, and the total of hemocytes. Let's take a look on the body weight after 30 days of feeding with different diets. You can see with high protein diet, with 200 and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant higher of body weight if controlled to the control, which is blue color. And for low protein diet, again, for the group with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, both are showing significant higher of body weight if compared to the control group, which is in the color of purple color. And we take a look on the survival rate after 30 days of feeding with different diets. Again, the weight was taken at day 10, day 20, and day 30. So we take a look on the final weight at day 30. Again, the group fed with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, showing a higher survival rate. For the group of low protein diet, it has a similar pattern, which is the low protein diet with 200 and 300 ppm of essential oil, it shows a higher survival rate if compared to the control group. Okay, for feed conversion ratio, the high protein diet with 200 ppm and 300 ppm, it has a statistical difference with the control group of high protein diet. And for low protein diet, we can see all the 3 groups has higher feed conversion ratio. But again, if we look at the 32% protein diet with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant lower feed conversion ratio compared to the control group. And we come to experiment 2. The objective is to determine the effect of essential oils on the immune response of white shrimp in laboratory conditions. And this is juvenile white shrimp at day 30, weighing about 2 to 3 grams from experiment 1 were used. Again, here we have 6 groups. Control 1, pelleted diet plus high fish meal. Treatment 2, pelleted feed plus high fish meal plus 200 ppm of essential oil. Treatment 3, pelleted diet plus high fish meal plus 300 ppm of essential oil. Control 2, pelleted diet plus low fish meal without any essential oil. Treatment 5, pelleted diet plus low fish meal plus 200 ppm of essential oil. Treatment 6, pelleted diet plus low fish meal plus 300 ppm of essential oil. Here is the hemocyte count. You can see for high protein diet, the group with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant higher hemocyte count if compared to the control group. And for low protein diet, the same. The 200 ppm of essential oil and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant higher hemocyte count if compared to the control diet. And for phagocytosis activity, we have a group of high protein diet and the group of low protein diet. For high protein diet with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant higher of phagocytosis activity if compared to the control group. The similar pattern happened in low protein diet. The low protein diet with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant higher phagocytosis activity if compared to the control group. And again, the third parameter, we are looking at the phenolocydase activity. And for high protein diet, we can see the 200 ppm of essential oil has no statistical difference if compared to the control. However, the group with emerald or essential oil 300 ppm, it has a statistical significant difference with the control group. But for low protein diet, the group with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has the significant higher phenolocydase activity if compared to the control group. For superoxide dismutase activity, again, let's take a look on the high protein diet. The group with 200 and 300 ppm of essential oil, it has a significant higher of percent inhibition if compared to the control group. And we take a look on the low protein diet. The result is more significant in 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil if compared to the control group. Okay, for experiment 3, the challenge test with Vibrio parahemolyticus that causing white physis syndrome. Again, we have 6 groups using a juvenile white shrimp, 30 days of age, weighing about 2 to 3 grams from experiment 1. We have control 1, pelleted diet plus high fish meal. Treatment 2, pelleted diet, high fish meal plus 200 ppm of essential oil. Treatment 3, pelleted diet plus high fish meal plus 300 ppm of essential oil. And control group, pelleted diet plus low fish meal and no essential oil was added. Sorry. And treatment 5, pelleted diet plus low fish meal plus 200 ppm of essential oil. And last group, treatment 6, pelleted diet plus low fish meal plus 300 ppm of essential oil. And the method, they are using 18 tanks of the water tank was used, and 6 group and 3 replication as mentioned earlier. And Vibrio parahemolyticus that causing white feces syndrome was added to the tank with dose of 10 power of 5 colony forming unit per ml. And shrimp was stocked at a density of 100 shrimp per square meter or 50 shrimp per tank. And routine feeding regime was carried out. Water parameters were maintained in the optimal level throughout the experiment. And the survival rate was recorded at the end of the trial, which is at day 15. And here, let's take a look on the result after day 15. And this is the survival rate. For the high protein diet, as you can see, the group with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil has significant higher survival rate if compared to the control diet. And for low protein diet, it has a similar pattern, which is low protein diet with 200 ppm and 300 ppm of essential oil has the higher survival rate if compared to the control group. And in conclusion, the essential oil, or here we are using emerald at a dose of 200 and 300 ppm, can enhance growth and immune systems of shrimp, including the total hemocyte count, percent of phagocytosis activity, phenoloxidase activity, superoxidase dismutase, and the bacteria activity. Shrimp fed with essential oil at dose of 200 ppm and 300 ppm after experiment infection with Vibrio parahemolyticus showed higher survival rate. Here, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Terence. Very good presentation. I will ask Juan Miguel and Julio to set up your screen. We are going to be in the Nacho also. Thank you, Nacho, to join us. We are start to make the part of the question and answer. We have a lot of questions here, so I want to invite the audience to make your questions and answer in the icon of question and answers in the bottom side of this screen, because I see you are still making some questions in the chat, but please make the questions in the icon of question and answer. That is easy to identify those questions and make it. I will start to read some questions since the beginning. So the first questions should be oriented to the Julio presentation. But if any of the panel wants to make any comment or help for the answer, you are free to do it. We want to do this participative panel of speakers, so you feel free to contribute in any questions that you think you can make any contribution. So we will start here. There is Juan Hugh is asking, could we supply organic acid and essential oil into complete feed for shrimp and fish at the farm? Are they leaching out in the water? That's one of the questions that the audience is asking us. who wants to answer this question? Maybe Julio, Juan, or Miguel, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, leaching depends much more on the technology of the final compound feed, how they are manufacturing the feed, and on the different ingredients, right? So of course, we are working mainly intra-pellet. This is a product to be included in the pellet, and with a good feed manufacturer, then you don't have leaching issues.
Okay, this is a question for Jorge. Is question organic acid. What is your recommendation dose for shrimp feed? Any side effect of organic acids to palatability of the shrimp? Jorge, you have your microphone closed. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, the level of inclusion will depend on the organic acid that's been used, right? More or less between 2 to 6 kilograms per tons in aquaculture, in diet for aquaculture, you use for ingredients around 12 kilograms per ton. Is the value.
Okay, and it's the same question. How the temperature affect to essential oil in the pelleting and extrusion system?
Some studies show a good results in palatability. Julio showed a good article what was published in 2016, I think so. But the palatability depends on the type of fatty acid that they use in the product. For example, short fatty acid have more palatability than medium chain fatty acids. Depend of the kind of acid or organic that we use.
Okay, there is another question for the panel in general. It says a synergic effect of organic acid plus essential oils. It may inhibit the probiotic multiplication in shrimp and fish. Do you have any study of these topics? So who wants to answer that question?
Could you repeat, please, Salvador?
Synergic effect of organic acid and essential oils may inhibit the probiotic multiplication in shrimp and fish.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Actually, the results show just the opposite. When we are using essential oils or even organic acid, we are enhancing the multiplication of commensal bacteria. Also, we should take into account that commensal bacteria are mainly gram-positive bacteria. Pathogens are mainly gram-negative. Of course, we have some exceptions to that, but essential oils and organic acids are mainly killing pathogens, while they are promoting or making more beneficial the growth of commensal bacteria.
Okay, any evidence or study on no resistance toward essential oil?
Well, this is what we already mentioned, that plants have developed essential oils during millions of years. And there is some studies when essential oils from the plant, crude from the plant, is composed of hundreds of different components, right? If we just take one component, bacteria may develop resistance to that. It's not well, it's not the same as antibiotic, but they show some development of resistance, right? That's why with a natural essential oil, it's very difficult to happen, or when you combine a lot of synthetic essential oils, because as each essential oil has a mode of action, the bacteria is not able to develop so many modes of actions to become resistant.
Okay, we have another question. How can you guarantee the release of the active components from the capsule in the gut, especially in shrimp, which have very transition times?
Well, this is kind of it's like a machine. As the feed enters in the duodenum, the pathopancreas is releasing the lipases. Pathopancreas, well, they are released there just at the entrance of duodenum. So everything that is passing that first gate of the intestine is being affected by lipases. Lipases start to work and therefore start to degrade that coating, and essential oils are already available to escape from the protection and be available in the gut.
Okay, in which case the microencapsulation is effective versus coacervation and use of essential without losing its efficacy?
Sorry, you said in which?
Yeah, I think that they are asking about different kinds of coating or protecting the essential oils.
Yes.
I guess that you have so many kinds of protections for essential oils. As my colleague was saying, the point is to try to avoid the essential oils to be volatile, firstly, when the mixing and processing of the feeds, and then bypassing the stomach. Our technology of microencapsulation and also the inner matrix of minerals dissolved with essential oils can show results. Not meaning that other protections are not working, but we can show efficiency. Why? Because after the recovery test, when you process the feed, there are at least 90% of the essential oils still available on the feed.
Okay. This is a question for Juan Miguel. It says, thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to know, how is your opinion on losing essential oils concentration after extrusion and essential oils when essential oils are encapsulated? Most literature describe nutrition assays with non-encapsulated essential oils and still obtain remarkable positive results. And since encapsulation should be further protection the compounds from temperature and pressure, how do you explain the need of increased dosage in respect to non-encapsulated formulas?
Well, we would need to go trial by trial checking, because, for example, it's not the same to feed a fish in a medium deep of a pond or in the surface. Of course, if the essential oil is not encapsulated and the fish is fed on the surface, the risk is lower. However, you will always lose money because you are applying a specific dose to a specific animal in a stage, okay? If you are losing product, it means that you need to apply extra dose to accomplish your objective or your target. So there may be some applications that the encapsulation or external application is not bad at all, or it can accomplish some results. However, the dose will always be higher than in encapsulation, where all the product is going to reach the intestine.
Okay. There is a question for Terence about your presentation. In the shrimp trials, what were the estimated costs of each of the high and low protein diets with and without emerald? Do you have any? Your microphone is okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Again, your question, Salvador.
In the shrimp trials that you present, what were the estimated costs of each of the high and low protein diets with and without emerald? With and without emerald.
You mean the cost? I mean, to add in emerald, what is the extra cost for the feed, right?
Yeah, yeah, the cost with and without emeralds. It's a compare the cost adding emerald. If you have some maybe a percentage or some idea, what is the difference?
Who is? Who is the one who asked the question from which country? Because
Daniel Fagan. Dan Fagan.
Huh?
Dan Fagan. Daniel Fagan.
From?
I think from Thailand.
Oh, from Thailand. Oh, okay. Yeah, because we have our partnership with distributor. We have different partners in different countries. For example, in Thailand, we are working with one distributor in Thailand. And final cost, I cannot give you the exact cost of the emerald because usually our distributor in Thailand, they will fix the final cost. So what I can do is probably what you can contact our distributor in Thailand, and probably you can negotiate the price. Yeah.
Terence is right. Of course, the final cost of the product in feed, it's quite difficult for us as suppliers to explain in a trial. But it's true that we can give you a gap. Okay, so around 100 grams per ton, or reaching to 200 or 300, it can cost you from $4 to $6 the increase per ton. Okay, from $4 to $6 the increase per ton using emerald at that doses. Okay, with this gap you can make some, of course, you can make some calculation, but the end price of the product is not depending on us in this case.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another question for the panel. Have you studied about the difference between natural essential oils and chemical synthetic one?
Yes, we have done many comparisons. With the natural, we always have a big problem. And Julio already mentioned that in his speech. Depending on the moment of the year when you are harvesting, depending on the cultivar, on the variety, depending on many factors, the profile of essential oils change. And when you want to apply that to animal production, this is really affecting, because you are mainly targeting specific pathogens and in a specific moments and a specific species. So you want to have something really well defined. For example, as I already mentioned, one of the essential oils that are more interesting in aquaculture, eugenol, cinnamaldehyde, carbacrol, thymol, those four for us are essential. And we don't care if a specific plant has a content in essential oil of something that is very good for a respiratory issue that we are not to touch, or for a topical. So we want very well defined amount of those components, and that's also the strength of our product of Emerald, that is very well characterized and defined on the composition, to ensure that at a specific dose you always achieve the same results, and it's not a result of how good was the plant in the moment it was harvested, etc.
Okay, so we have many questions about asking about the composition of emerald and cost of emerald also, and some other questions regarding with the cost and distribution. So we will send these questions to the panel at the end of the webinar, and they will take all this information, and they can respond directly to the people who make those questions, because they have your email information when you register to this conference. So mostly questions are oriented now to information about the product, the composition of the product, the cost of the product. I understand that the cost of the product probably has a different presentation of cost, and different depending on the different countries. So you can the panelists can direct the information, the right information, to the right distributor in any other country. And so
yes,
there's yes, go ahead.
I will just add that we have a different net of distributors throughout Asia, starting from Southeast Asia, China, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, then South Central Asia, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and so on. So also we have a subsidiary in the Philippines, an office of Igusol in the Philippines. So after this webinar, as we have your contacts, we will show all the information to our distributors in each country, and they will contact you to explain about the product characteristics and also, of course, pricing. Okay. Okay. We have many questions also about your presentation, Terence. There will be attract the attention of the audience. So many questions about specific questions about your presentation and the difference in the results and other questions like that you can also answer in detail directly to all of these audience. You want to say something now?
Yeah, I read about the questions also. And I think this trial was carried out in Thailand. It was a university trial. So perhaps I can collect your questions, and I will get back to the professor who is doing the trial. Perhaps I was just here to deliver the trial results. In details, we still have to go back to the professor who has carried out the trial. But again, I will just help to mediating your questions and everything to the professor. And I will compile your questions, and I will get back to you later. All right.
Mm-hmm. Also, we will be sharing the technical bulletin or the document with all the trial by mail, probably. So you can, I'm sure that you can have some more details in the end study. Okay.
Okay, so I would say that I want to say that this presentation is going to be recorded and will be available in the channel the channel of Aquaculture Magazine in YouTube channel, Aquaculture Magazine. You can see that, and also Igusol will share in their webpage, and will deliver to any of the audience. You can ask Igusol, and they will deliver to you. You want to take see the presentation again. So I want to say thank you to all these panelists today. It was a very good, interesting topic. I saw the audience very interested in the topic. Many questions about the process, how to ensure that the product delivered to the ponds and be available for fish and shrimps. This is one of the main topics that I can say also, and many questions about the presentations of Terence, that it was a very practical study and in the area that that create many questions and in details. So if you want to say, one of the panelists want to say something, we are almost finished with this presentation. You want to say, one of you guys wanna say anything else? No?
Okay, yeah. Just thank you to everyone. We know that there are so many webinars almost all the weeks. So yeah, to have gathered almost 200 people here with so many questions that of course we will answer. We are so thankful for you to sharing your time with us, and also of course to the speakers, Julio, Jorge, and also Salvador and Claudia. Thank you so much for preparing all the webinar.
Okay, thank you very much. Claudia, if you are around, are you ready for?
Yes.
Okay, so. Go
All
ahead.
right, thank you. Thank you, Salvador. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Julio, Juan Miguel, Terence, Nacho, Jorge, and a special acknowledgement to Igusol for making this webinar possible, first of all. And well, to all the audience attending today, we will send a certificate of completion the next few days. So feel free to share your feedback and general comments about this program. Also, if you have further questions for Igusol, the products, the processes that they have, etc., you can also find the contact information in the same email that we will be sending in this next few days. So to keep up to date with the latest news, upcoming events, and general information in the aquaculture industry, please follow us on our social networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, where you can find us as Aquaculture Magazine. And well, without further ado, thank you again to all of you. We will leave you right now with a video of our main actor, today's sponsor, the company Igusol. Please enjoy it. Good afternoon to everyone. Take care, and we'll see you soon.